Hi and welcome to Kidney Coach YouTube channel. I am Fiona and I'm joined by
Dr. Matt Lyon.
Dun, 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 dun. We thought, because at the time of filming it's New Year's Day for Mr. Matt over there in the US. It's actually the 2nd of January here in Australia. But one of the things actually I'm going to do later today is we're going to sit down and write our goals for 2021. And we realized, we just had a conversation, that setting goals around your health and how to heal and what you need to do to achieve those goals is really important, and something Matt and I just naturally do. So we wanted to walk you through what we do just to help set goals around our health and what's helped us in our health journey, and give you some tips on things that you might find useful to incorporate into your life around that.
Sounds great.
All right. Do you want to start, Mr. Matt?
Yeah, I'll just say that there was a study done that looked at the difference between having a goal in your mind versus writing it down. And the group that wrote their goals down, were 40% more likely to actually accomplish them. So write it down. That's why journaling is so cool. I can give you an example. So when I was ill, when I was sick, I wanted more than anything to be strong again. But I was really scared of weightlifting because the condition I had made it difficult to do that. So I learned how to work with kettlebells. Not suggesting that you need to do that, just part of the story. And I learned this amazing technique. You can see my book here, Pavel, Russian kettlebell techniques. And more than anything, to be able to do his simple and sinister program with 32 kilograms. Now, what is simple and sinister? It's 100 kettlebell swings every day and 10 Turkish get-ups. And if you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. But when I started, I couldn't do anything. But I just kept writing down, I will be able to do simple and sinister 32 kilograms, 32 kilogram simple and sinister. So I literally wrote down that goal. I also wrote down how that would feel for me. I'd feel strong, I'd feel happy, I'd feel grateful, I'd feel invigorated, I'd feel vital, I'd just have a juice for life. And guess what? I mean, it wasn't overnight, but you can't see it here, but right next to me is a 32 kilogram kettlebell. And just before we recorded this, I rocked out my 32 kilogram simple and sinister. So writing it down with our health is so important. And it just begins to expand our awareness of infinite possibilities. And when we put our attention on those different possibilities, amazing stuff happens, much more so than me just trying to power through on my own. So I'm a huge fan of goals. And back to you, Fiona.
Alrighty. So yeah, like Matt, when I was gonna say, when I was sick, I've still got MS. The last time I checked, it's still there. So one of the things I do, and I do this often, is I reset, especially as I achieve a goal, I reset it. So I use the SMART acronym. So they have to be, now I have to remember the SMART, but it is specific, measurable. You have to be able to take action. It has to be realistic, and it has to have a time outcome on it. I got all of that right, I think. So I can't say I want to fly to the moon, because, well, maybe that's realistic if I know Elon Musk, but at the moment I can't fly myself to the moon. So, for me, a SMART goal might be, I want to be able to walk for a kilometre without having any drop foot. And I want to be able to do that, which is realistic. And the way that I'll do that is I just build up slowly, and I'm working with a neurophysio to help improve my walking gait so it looks more normal. And I want to be able to do that within 6 months. And then what I do is, that's the goal that I want to get to. But sometimes when we set goals, especially around health, like if with, say, kidney disease, you want your EGFRs or your kidney function to go from a stage 4 to a stage 2. And you think, well, that's a big goal. How am I going to get there? So then what I do is I break down all the steps that I use something called a 90-day game plan. So I generally do goals over 90 days. So say I want to walk that far in 90 days. Then what do I need to do each month? So if I was to want to walk a kilometre with no drop foot in 90 days, then each month I might have to walk. So for month 1, maybe I'm walking 200 meters. Month 2, maybe I'm walking 400 meters or 800 meters, 600 meters, and month 3 is the kilometer. And then what do I do in each week of those? So I break everything down into little actionable steps so you don't feel overwhelmed by the end term goal. So I come down and I break down everything. So part of that is I have to make sure that I'm training. I have to make sure that I'm eating well. I have to make sure that I'm taking my supplements. I have to make sure that I'm breathing well. What are all the little things that I need to do? Because little actions accumulated end up being your big goal. So I'm really big on breaking everything down into bite-sized chunks that my brain can take. So did you want to add to that, Max? I know you do something a little bit similarly with the Tony Robbins big little model thing.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. I just think of it like this. A lot of us, we're where we are, and then there's this vision of where we want to be. And like for most of us, it depends on the area of life, right? But there's going to be a gap from where we are to where we want to be. So it's a bit of a paradox because first, for me, all goals have to also begin with gratitude. Like I love myself, I accept myself, I'm totally okay that I'm here, but there's this other place I want to be here. And so goals are like little breadcrumbs that I sort of set and follow so that eventually these two time-space intervals merge. And what I find is if I start with self-compassion, with gratitude, and I start feeling and behaving as if I'm already there, the process is joyful and it happens a lot quicker. So yeah, Tony Robbins just talks about that. So when where we are is distinct from the blueprint that we think should be, we want to take action. And the other thing too is, and it's so easy, and I've done this, is you set these goals, whether it's for health stuff, and both Fiona and I have been through lots of health stuff. It's easy if something doesn't work out or something fails or there's a backtrack to be like, yeah, I'm not going to do that today. This sort of loving and gentle but constant and unrelenting movement forward is so critical. And I've talked about this in another video, but I love the book Constructive Living by David Reynolds, where he says the most important question that we can ask is, and now it needs to be done. And now it needs to be done. That doesn't exclude resting and being and chilling and just loving life for what it is. But life is evolutionary. Life wants to constantly be expanding. Pierre Teilhard de Chardin, the Jesuit priest who sort of brought in evolution into the conversation within the Catholic Church, for which he was almost excommunicated. He had this great quote. He said, for life to remain alive, it has to be constantly changing. And so we're designed to grow. Our cells are designed to grow. And living on sort of that edge of uncertainty and having that hunger for something else, guess what that does? Boosts our immune system, boosts hormone levels in positive directions, and gives us that sense of like verve and vitality about life. So just even if we're not where we think we want to be, just that little bit of progress, we feel up-leveled, we feel uplifted. And you can feel that in people. Like I always feel this with Fiona because she's always growing. And you just sort of feel that energy in yourself and other people. So there was one last thing I'd share that Tony used to have this phrase, CANI, constant and never-ending improvement.
Oh, I like that.
The only thing I'd add into that is constant and never-ending improvement, but upon a base that I know I'm just enough just as I am with all of my imperfections. And so it just becomes then sort of a fun thing to be like, hey, what can I create today? And how can I express more of who I was born to be? And how can I light up somebody else's day because they're struggling or they're down or they've been diagnosed with kidney disease? How can we make a YouTube video that's going to rock their world and help them move the needle in their life? So those are my little addiciones.
I love that. And I want to come back to what you said about making it fun, because I think what happens is people set these massive goals, especially around New Year's, and they set these massive, and they may be unrealistic, or they set goals and then because they feel so far away, they don't set the little steps, or they're not thinking about the little things they could do. Like it's a path, right? You don't just go from here to here. What do I need to do to get there? And then people give away their goals. It's like, I'm going to eat healthy. And for the first week, they're eating lettuce every day. And then they're back to eating, and they're at the gym, and then they're back to eating Big Macs. And so it's like, what can you do so it feels like you're stepping, make it fun. That was where I was going with that. Like when you've got a chronic disease, feeling like you have to heal, you can take all the fun out of the journey. So for me, okay, I have very little feeling in my legs and I have a lot of pain in there. So, but I don't make my goals around that. I make my goals around how far can I walk, because that's something that brings me joy. So with kidney disease, think about, is it playing with the grandchildren more? Is that a goal that you could put in there? And to do that means you have to have more energy, and maybe as a side effect, your glomerular filtration rate will go down. So you could set that as a goal, as being able to go for a walk with your grandchildren and not feel fatigued. Now that will tie into the kidney disease, but it's a fun goal to work towards. So it's going to keep your attention more. And then break it down. It's like, well, I have to have the energy. So I'm going to have to eat well. I'm going to have to make sure I sleep properly. I'm going to have to stay hydrated. Maybe I do the hydration technique from the kidney disease solution. Maybe I'm drinking Nana's tea to make sure that, I don't have fluid in my feet when I want to go walking. And you just break down little steps. And I want to reiterate that small little actions over time will lead you to your goal. And I think that's really important. And finally, to quote Dr. Joe Dispenza, it's the thought that sends the frequency out into the universe, but it's the feeling. Like Matt was talking about, he says about how he's going to feel, and Joe will talk about that. It's the feeling that draws it back to you. So it's really important to feel the gratitude and behave as a person as if you've already achieved your goal. Because if you've got, say, kidney disease and you're bitter and twisted about it and feeling a bit of a victim, and it's not to give you a hard time, but that mentality and that focus isn't, and you set a goal about improving from a stage 4 to a stage 2, if you stay in victim mode about all the stuff that happens to you, that's not the person that would be celebrating having stage 2 kidney disease. So who would you become if you managed to reverse your kidney disease from stage 4 to stage 2 and start living as that person now? Yeah. And it will just make your whole trip around the goal so much more fun and joyful. So
well said.
Well, yeah, I think that's all I need to say about that.
Cool. Yeah, me too. My favorite book about this is Atomic Habits.
Yes, I love that one too.
Yeah, 1% improvement per day at the end of a year will be about 36.4% better. You know what? That's awesome. That right there is great. But 2 years later, it bumps way, way up. It's a geometric expansion. So that if you were to sort of carry this out, I believe after 2 years, you'd be 1,400% better, I think. After 10 years, you'd be a quadrillion times better. So I just figure, what can I get 1% better at today? It makes it easy. It keeps me chill. It keeps me in my no problem man mood.
I haven't heard you Jamaican for a while there.
Yeah. Great video. Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah, Happy New Year. And if you're seeing this later in the year, remember you can always sit down and write new goals and figure out how to do this. You don't have to wait until a new year. Don't wait until a new year. All right, guys, take care to your kidney health, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Peace.